Today's lesson is over solving inequalities using multiplication and division. I'd like you to pull out your red pen and fill in this section underneath number 1. Yesterday we went over some rules, and the final rule that we talked about was this thing that you guys are writing down in red. We didn't really use it yesterday, but we are going to be using it today. All right, guys, read me what it says in red. Go ahead. If the last thing you do is multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides, you flip the sign, okay? So we're going to check to see each time if we need to flip our sign or not. Let's look at the first problem, problem A. Everybody, identify the variable.
X.
X. What is not allowing X to be alone? Divide by 5. How do I get rid of divide by 5? Multiply by 5. And remember, when we're multiplying, we're just going to put it in parentheses. Class, what is 5 divided by 5? 1. So this is left as 1x. And I'm going to drop down my inequality symbol, less than or equal to. Now let's focus on this. I have one negative and one positive. My answer has to be negative because there was only one negative sign. So what's the answer? Negative 15. Now my question to you is, did I, as the last step I did, multiply by a negative number on both sides? Yes or no?
Yes.
No. I multiplied by a positive 5 by a positive 5 on both sides. Although there was a negative that I multiplied by over here, I did not multiply by a negative on the left side. So do I need to flip the sign?
Yes.
No. I will only flip the sign if I multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides. So I am going to keep my answer just like this. The next thing it's asked us to do is graph the solution. Just the boys, how many numbers do we put on our number line? 3. Boys, what number will go in the middle? Negative 15. What's one smaller than negative 15? Negative 16. And one bigger? Negative 14. Just the girls, is this an open or a closed circle? Closed. How can you tell it's closed? It's an equal sign, so that means the answer could be exactly negative 15. Now, it says up here, all solutions are less than or equal to negative 15. Which direction is less than negative 15? To the left or to the right? To the left. So all solutions to the left are less than or equal to negative 15. There's something wrong with problem B. What's wrong with it? It's backwards, okay? So the variable is on the right-hand side. Instead, we're going to flip the entire problem. 2/3 P is, what will my new sign say? Less than negative 3. Remember, all we did is we just flipped the whole problem. We turned it around backwards. Now, I want to get rid of the multiply by a fraction. How do I get rid of multiply by a fraction? I can divide by a fraction, which is the KFC method. So the little shortcut that I taught you is you now are going to multiply by the reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of 2/3? 3 halves. And then we're going to do that to both sides. Technically, this is considered over 1. If I were to cancel this out, they would all turn into 1s, and I would be left with 1p. Is less than, is there anything I can cross-reduce on the right side? No, there's not. So we're just going to multiply the numerator. A negative times a positive always equals a negative. 3 times 3? 1 times 2? 2. Was my original problem improper?
Yes.
No, it's not. So that means my answer cannot come out improper. So we've got P is less than negative. What would 9 halves be as a mixed number, class? 4 and 1/2. Because remember, all you do is you just take 9 divided by 2, and that would be 4 1/2. When I have my number line, negative 4 1/2 will go in the middle. Okay, good job. Negative 5 1/2 is one smaller. And what's one bigger? Negative 3 1/2. Jalen, should this be an open or a closed circle?
Closed.
Okay, why is it closed? We only want it to be a closed circle if there's an equal sign. Is there an equal sign there? No, there's not. So should it be open or closed? It will be open, okay? Because that says negative 4.5 cannot be a solution for this. Now it says everything is less than negative 4.5. Which way is less than? To the left or to the right?
Right, left.
Which way, guys?
Left.
To the left. Now remember, you can make your arrows kind of fly up like that, or you can keep it right on the line. It is up to you, but I need to be able to tell all solutions are to the left because they are less than negative 4.5. Next problem, Trenton, identify the variable. X. What is not allowing X to be alone? Remind me, what does it mean when a number is next to a letter, class? Multiply. So I'm trying to get rid of multiply by negative 4. Trenton, what should I do? Okay, divide by negative 4. We've got to divide by the exact number that's there. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 equals 1, so I'm left with 1x is less than. Class, I've got a negative divided by a negative. Will my answer be positive or negative? It's going to be positive. What is 12 divided by 4? 3. Do I need to flip the symbol?
Yes.
Everybody read me what you wrote in red at the top of our notes. Go ahead. Did we multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides? Yes, look right here, guys. We divided by negative 4 on both sides. So what do I need to do? I have to flip the symbol. Now instead it's going to say x is greater than 3. All right, we've got 3 in the middle, 2 is smaller, and 4 is bigger. Einar, is this an open or a closed circle? This is open. Talila, should my arrow go to the right or to the left? To the right. Why to the right? Because everything is greater than 3, okay? So if I was to plug in one of the numbers that we have here, 4, if I plugged that in there, would that make sense? 4 is greater than 3? It does, okay? Very good. Now, some people are confused as to why this was not the answer. You don't need to put this in your notes, but I want to show you what it would have looked like if we had not flipped the sign. So we still would have 3, 2, and 4. It would still be open, but my arrow instead would have gone to the left, right? Guys, what number would have been here? A 1. What would have come next? A 0. Let's try plugging in this 0 up here. What's negative 4 times 0? 0. So if I had plugged that in, this would have said 0 is less than negative 12. Is that a true statement? No, 0 is not less than negative 12. So that shows us this doesn't make sense, which is why we had to flip the symbol. Because of that special rule, anytime that we multiply or divide by a negative number as our last step, we always have to flip the symbol, or else the answer will be incorrect. Next problem, hope. What's wrong with where the variable is? It's backwards, so we are instead going to flip the entire thing. M over 10, I also have to flip my sign, is greater than or equal to negative 0.5. Brayden, what should I do next? Very good. We're going to multiply by 10 on both sides. 10 divided by 10 becomes 1m. I don't have to put the 1. Greater than or equal to. Let's focus on this right here, just the girls. I have a negative times a positive. My answer has to be negative. You're allowed to use a calculator, but let's just think about 0.5. What fraction is 0.5? Half. Okay, so what's half of 10? 5. So my answer is m is greater than or equal to negative 5. If you don't know that in your head, it is okay to use your calculator. But just remember, 0.5 always equals a half. Angeline, if you would, graph it for me, please. What number should I put in the middle? Negative 5. What is one smaller than negative 5? Not negative 4. Negative 6. And what's one bigger? Very good, because if you remember, it looks kind of backwards whenever we're doing it in the negative direction. Angeline, should this be open or closed circle? It is closed because there is an equal sign. Excellent job. And up here, my answer says all solutions are greater than or equal to -5. Which direction is greater than? Incorrect. When you move to the left, that's getting negative. So if I want to get greater, we always have to go to the right. Next problem, let me have Matthew. Identify the variable. What's not allowing the x to be alone? Okay, how do I get rid of multiply by 6? Very good. We're going to divide by 6 on both sides, and what's your answer? Very good. Do I need to flip my symbol? No, I do not. Excellent job, because I divided by a positive number, not a negative number on both sides. Huang, if you would, please draw the graph for us. Is it open or closed? Open. It is open, and if all solutions are greater than -3, should my arrow go to the right or to the left? Right. To the right, because all solutions are greater, and to the right is always greater. Remember, once again, this looks like a greater than sign, and this is a greater than sign, so that's a clue that you did do it correct. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next one, Isaac, what's wrong with my variable?
It is next to a decimal.
All right, very good. We want it to be on the left side of the original problem. So, Isaac, what should the original problem say now?
2.5 are lesser than 15.
Okay, if you say lesser than, these symbols still look identical. So we don't want it to be less than. What should we have it be?
Greater than.
Greater than. Good job. We're going to just erase that and put a greater than, because if I am writing the whole thing backwards, I've got to make that backwards from what it was too. Okay? Gavin, how do I get rid of that multiply by 2.5? Very good. And Gavin, keep going. What should I do next? Okay, and what do you get when you do that? Excellent. Do I need to switch my symbol? No, I do not. The only time we do that is if we multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides, and I divided by a positive number. Let me have Talila go ahead and graph it for us. What number goes in the middle? Very good. What's one smaller? And one bigger? Open or closed? Very good. It's open because there's no equal sign, and it says all solutions are greater than 6. Which way would that be? To the right. Very good. And once again, if I wanted to plug in this number, I could say 7 is greater than 6, and that would be truthful. So that helps me to understand that that was the correct way. All right, so the y is not on the side that we want it to be. Instead, Noah, what should it say if I flip the problem around backwards to put my variable on the left side?
Negative y over 2 is greater than or equal to 0.5.
Excellent. Now, one thing I do want to talk to you about is this negative right here. I have to attach this negative to one of either the numerator or the denominator. I never want to attach it to a variable, though. So if I don't want to attach it to the y, what should I attach it to? The 2. Very good. So I'm just going to erase this, and I'm going to attach it to the 2 so that that y doesn't have a negative sign with it. All right? Now, Brayden, how do I get rid of that divide by -2? Very good. And what you do to one side, class? Very good. On the left-hand side, Huang, what happens to -2 divided by -2? Very good. It turns into a 1y. I'm going to drop down my greater than or equal to sign. Now let's focus on the right side. Trenton, it's a negative times a positive, so my answer has to be a negative. Very good. And once again, I've got a 0.5. Remember 0.5, what fraction does that stand for? A half. What's half of 2? 1. Very good. So our answer is going to be -1. Do I need to flip my sign?
Yes.
Yes. Why?
Because we multiply by a negative.
You are correct. The last thing that I did on both sides was multiply by a negative number. So now my final answer, I'm going to rewrite it. Y is less than or equal to -1. Who would like to graph it for me? All right, Trenton, what number goes in the middle? Not 1. It's a -1. Okay. What's 1 smaller than -1? Not 0. -2. And then what's 1 bigger? Excellent. Is this an open or a closed circle? It's closed because there's a what? An equal sign. Very good. And it says all solutions are less than. Which direction is less than? To the left or to the right? To the left is correct. Remember, once again, it's okay if you want to follow it along the number line or if you want to make your arrow kind of fly up. Either one is okay with me. For today's Modeling Real Life, it says that you earn $7.25 per hour at your summer job. If you guys would, just take your pencil and underline per hour. Does anybody remember what that means? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide per hour. What's that mean? Multiply. So this means you are making $7.25 per hour. So times, I'm going to say H because it's H for hour. Okay? You could do any variable though. Then it says write and solve an inequality. Remember, with an inequality, that means greater than or less than sign needs to be there. Write an inequality that represents the number of hours that you can work to earn enough money to buy a smartphone that costs how much money? All right, so we know the end price is going to be $725. Now we have to figure out which inequality symbol is going to go right here. Would I be allowed to earn exactly $725?
Yes.
Yes, that would be a good thing. So I could write my equal sign. I'm just going to put that bottom line because that shows me I can't equal it. Could you buy this phone if you had less than $725? No. So guess what the sign is? It has to be greater than. And then in the end, it tells us that we're going to interpret what it means. We'll interpret that here in just a second. For now, let's solve for H. How do I get rid of $7.25? Good job. On both sides, we're going to go ahead and divide by that $7.25 to try to get the H by itself. On the left side, we know that these two are going to cancel each other out, and I'm left with H is greater than or equal to. Put this in your calculator to figure out what the answer is. What's the answer, guys? 100 what? Not dollars. Hours. Remember that H is standing for hours. Now it asked us to interpret. What does this mean? H is greater than or equal to 100 hours. Yes, you have to work at least 100 hours. So let's write that down. That's a lot of hours, isn't it? Would you be allowed to work more than 100 hours? You would, but the key word, at least, the smallest amount is you could work 100 hours and that would pay for it. For section 3, it asked us to write the word sentence as an inequality. Remember, with this word inequality, make sure it's a greater than or a less than sign, but not only an equals to. And then asks us to solve the inequality. First thing I want you to do is take your pencil and underline the word quotient. Does anybody know what quotient would be? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Divide. Very good. That's on that blue words into math paper. So if you come to words like this and they're hard for you to understand, take a couple minutes and review those notes that I gave you that are in blue in your notebook. So how do we use divide in our class?
Fraction bar.
A fraction bar. So it says a number x. Do you think the x goes on the top or the bottom? It goes on the top because it came first. X and -3, so -3 will be at the bottom, is at most, underline that twice, 12. The 12 is the easiest part. We know it's just going to be a 12. The hardest part is figuring out this at most. If you look in your notes on section 4.4, I gave you this little box, and it has words like at most or at least, tricky words like that I also think would be helpful for you to study before your quiz. But if you didn't have it memorized for some reason, you can reason and try to figure this out. If I say it has to be at most 12, could it be exactly 12? Yes, it could. So I'm going to put my equals sign. Could it be more than 12 if I said it is at most 12? No. So if it can't be more than, it would have to be less than. So your sign is going to be less than. Now it asks us to solve the inequality. How do I get rid of that divide by negative 3? Multiply by negative 3 on both sides. This over here cancels out. X is less than or equal to. Guys, a negative times a positive equals a negative. What is 12 times 3? Very good, negative 36. Do I need to flip the symbol? Yes. How come?
Because there's a negative by a negative.
The last step I did was I multiplied by a negative 3 on both sides. So now read to me, class, what the final answer says.
X is greater than or equal to negative 36.
Very good. Let me have you guys try to do problem B on your own. All right, so the first part says 4 times a number. What did you write for the 4 times a number part? 4, and you could put any variable because it doesn't tell you specifically, so I'll just write 4x. And then we know it's a negative 36. Could it be exactly negative 36? Yes, it could. Then it says at least. Could it be more than negative 36? Yes, it could be. But the least amount has to be negative 36. So you should have got 4x is greater than or equal to negative 36. I've got to get rid of that 4, so I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides. My final answer is x is greater than or equal to negative 9. I do not need to flip the symbol because the last thing I did was divide by a positive number on both sides. How many of you would say that you got it correct? Excellent. Most of you did. If you didn't, that's okay. Just erase it and fix it. All right, the next one, think, pair, share. I want you guys to do 1A on your own. You're going to solve it and then graph it. All right, I saw a lot of great answers. We are going to divide by 12 on both sides, giving me x is less than or equal to negative 2. How many of you would say you got that? Okay, now we've got negative 2. A couple people did accidentally switch the order. Remember the negatives, how it looks. This is a closed circle. There were a few people who didn't have any circles. Always make sure you show me whether it's open or it's closed. And everything is less than, so the arrow should go to the left. Please try problem B on your own. Look carefully because the variable is on the right side right now. All right, when I rewrite this, it should say m divided by 8 is less than or equal to 4. I've got to get rid of my divide by 8, so I multiply by 8 on both sides, leaving me with m is less than or equal to 32. Raise your hand if you got that. Once again, if you didn't, that's okay. Just erase it and fix it. I saw most people did have that. 32 is now going to go in the middle, and then 31 to the left, and 33 to the right. Is this open or closed?
Close.
It is a closed circle because there's an equal sign, and it says all solutions are less than 32. Which one of those numbers is less than 32, 31 or 33? 31, which means my arrow needs to go over that 31. All right, for the final one today, it says the product. Guys, what sign is product? Multiply. So I want to multiply negative 5 and y. What is that?
5y.
Negative 5y. Good job. Is less than 20. How many of you would say you had that for your original thing? Okay. How do I get rid of multiply by negative 5? Very good. I'm going to divide by negative 5 on both sides. Y is less than negative 4. Do I need to flip my sign? Yes. Why? I divided by a negative number on both sides, so the correct answer is y is greater than negative 4. All right, tonight there is a homework assignment. It is 4.6, and you do need to submit your answers onto Big Ideas.